What's up, guys? Ben here bringing another video today. I'm recording this on Wednesday morning. A couple of interesting pieces of news broke yesterday in the Call of Duty world. It's sort of like a weird week before launch where sometimes people are trying to get in some last minute announcements around their team. We had two big ones come through. Let's talk about them, the repercussions, and a little bit of speculation on some replacements. So first up, we got a pretty funny announcement video for Nick, aka Classic, joining Atlanta FaZe as a sub as we're watching this video right here. Pretty funny skit with Nick on the couch being like kind of the therapist to Austin Slasher. Pretty interesting move. Let's talk about it. So I think this helps FaZe in like two specific ways. Number one is FaZe is a team that has not, for 3 full seasons of the Call of Duty League, made a mid-season roster move. So their substitute is very much a kind of fill-in spot if someone gets sick. We saw that last season a couple of times with FaZe where Pristini had to come in. The Classic is a very serviceable substitute in that regard. You know, he's going to come in and play like a very structured version of Call of Duty. Is he a super plus superstar slayer? Absolutely not. But Nick's won plenty of tournaments in his lifetime. He just took out the Toronto Academy North America team in Challengers Finals a few months ago at Champs. So Nick, listen, is a winner. And if in a weird situation he had to fill in for a couple of matches or one match, I think he's gonna be pretty good in the substitute spot. I think the second thing for FaZe, this one's a little bit of a sort of inside baseball thing I wanted to share with y'all. I don't think it's like a secret that Classic is friends with a bunch of players on this team, and even the coaching staff. Like, anyone who's really studied the history of Call of Duty knows that Classic was surfaced as a player by Crowder when he was a competitor back in the day, brought Nick up, and that kind of really started Classic's sort of path to being a pro. And they've been friends ever since. Obviously, Nick is also friends with other members of the coaching staff, the players. So to me, there's a lot of camaraderie here. And I see Nick also really functioning at times like a second coach. I'll give you an example, right? You know, this is the type of team that they'll scrim, they'll go eat dinner, and then the coaching staff is going to go watch VODs afterwards, watch back their practice, and figure out what to focus on the next day. And I can see Nick providing help in that area and being sort of a sounding board, kind of sort of help with sort of figuring out trends and what they want to do from a game plan standpoint. So I think it's a great move for FaZe. Look, if they had to make a major roster change, I don't know if Nick is going to be the one that would come in sort of a longer term rotation. But again, it's sort of a gap fill situation. Someone they need to check off the box as being a substitute, and God forbid he had to come in for a couple of games. I think it's a great move for FaZe, so I tip that one. So second kind of major news from yesterday, and this one sort of kind of came out of nowhere. Mayhem moving over from the Toronto Ultra organization to be an assistant coach on the LAG staff. Mayhem was at times working with the main Ultra team over the years, as well as with the top Academy team on their NA side, sort of the squad that Scrappy was on, Toronto Ultra Academy NA. Really didn't see this move coming. Not that surprised that it happened, to be fair. Obviously, he's got a lot of chemistry with Marky B. So for me, it's a really good move from LAG to sort of finish rounding out their coaching staff. Obviously, we're waiting to hear on who their potential analyst may be. JP's been linked to this gig, so we'll see what happens as the season starts. But it does open up a pretty interesting question on the Toronto side, which is right now they don't have a head coach. Taking a look at my little tracker doc here, this is sort of the roster they have right now, and the only member of sort of coaching staff that's on the team right now is Flux in that analyst role, which I don't think has been confirmed, but I assume that he's still sticking along, at least at this time. So there are quite a few open spots on this team. Let's talk about maybe some potential people that might be slotting into this job. My first immediate thought was to think, well, sort of the logical thing for Toronto is maybe tap some of the context on the Singularity side and bring over some of the coaches they had on their NA and EU teams. And one of those players who was working with their EU team was Josh. So if you're a long time fan of Call of Duty, Josh has been around for a long time, been on quite a few top level EU teams. And Josh is probably best known for being on that really good Splice team in Black Ops 3 that was pretty good and dominant on the European side, and then pulled up to Champs and got that crazy run, lost to Envy in the finals. So Josh has been around for a long time, well connected on the EU side. And Josh is always someone that I think was well regarded for a sort of strategic play. So he slot in well as a coach. I think thinking around sort of maybe the thinking on Toronto side, to me right now, I wouldn't be surprised if he's sort of the top option. I think maybe another name that might be not super well known to people that are more casual followers of the scene, or maybe some hardcores, is Mystic, coming over from Toronto Ultra Academy NA. He was coaching that team last year. Someone who doesn't have a massive player background, but prior to being on Ultra Academy NA, actually did coach a couple of really good amateur teams in UYU and Easter in previous years. So he does have a lot of amateur and challengers coaching experience, but would be sort of an unknown at the pro level. I could see potentially one of either him or Josh or both of them coming in and now coaching the squad, because I think the question of what's going to happen with both the Ultra Academy teams is sort of, at least at the moment, sort of a question mark on my side. So that's sort of like option A, I think, in the way they're thinking. I think then if we sort of take a look at sort of the free agent coach list of people that are currently still not attached to teams, I think we're going to move JP from this list. I don't think he's enough to Toronto. You look at the 3 remaining names, I think the Bevels, Parasite combo is interesting. I wouldn't say that it's a likely fit for this, but if no other options work, I'm sure both of them would be down to do it. I'm not 100% sort of confident in the exact sort of personality fit with Bevels, and especially someone like Parasite, who's definitely got a big reputation, but I can see it as an option. Apox is actually an interesting name. You know, he was actually working hard with the Paris squad, and then I think there were some issues around sort of kind of going into a longer term engagement. That's why he's not still on that staff. And Mike Apoc has been around for a while, played a lot in the challengers level, well respected, so could slot in. You know, look, for me, I think Toronto's really got to nail this one. I look at their squad and there's a lot of talent, right? You've got players like Insight and Kleenex who have been really good in previous years. I think last year maybe not as strong as a year as compared to Cold War. And you can say the same for Standy, who's coming over from Minnesota, came in with much fanfare and really helped win that event, Major 5 for Minnesota, and then carried on to a good placing at the end of that year. And then last year really struggled outside of Search and Destroy. And then Scrappy, look, he came in and looked really good in Pro-Am Classic last year, but still we got to see what he does at a full season. I think the other thing too is you look at this and you've got 2 players that have been on the roster for a while that now have sort of a weird kind of missing sort of leadership gap that needs to be filled, right? With Cammy and Bance off to Minnesota. And you got 2 youngster, high talented players who I definitely think could use a coach that can kind of guide them in the right progression path so they can hit their ceiling. So I'm going to be watching this situation. We'll see once this team starts scrimming who's kind of slotting into that coaching role. I think for a very crowded mid-pack of teams right now, if Toronto can nail this sort of coaching hire or promotion, I feel really good about their chances to be like a top 14 to begin the season. But if it's a little bit of a funky fit, if they struggle to find this role, we could see this Toronto team have a little bit of a slower start this year as they try to find that chemistry between half of a new roster going on there. So yeah, that's really it. I think we're still waiting on a couple of sort of announcements around the CDL world. We mentioned Dave JP earlier in the video. Still waiting to hear about where he's going onto a team, and we haven't yet got the London announced. I don't know what's going on there, why they haven't announced yet, but hopefully they get that done in the next day or so. We'll talk about it if they do get that live before game release. Let me know in the comments what you think about Classic joining FaZe as a substitute and Mayhem moving over to LAG with Toronto having an open spot now on their coaching staff. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments and I'll respond to a few of y'all in there. As always, smash that like button. If you love this content, subscribe. We're going to keep pumping out more for you. I'm really excited. The game release is only a couple of days away. And as always, guys, we will see you on the next one.